Hey guys, welcome to Meals with Maria. As August comes to a close, I know the new school year is starting and we're thinking about quick and easy meals for the family. That's why I wanted to bring you 3 make-ahead casseroles. These I actually made all at one time as a big meal prep for my family, and we were able to eat for almost the entire week. Not only are these casseroles great to make ahead of time for your family for the week, but they're also an amazing thing to bring to a potluck or a party so that you have something that you can serve to others pretty quickly. You can make it ahead and then cook it right that day that you need to, and they freeze really well too. I'm gonna be making $1 million spaghetti casserole, which is a fan favorite of my friend group. Shocked I've never made it before on video, so I'm excited to share. I'm also making a cheesy Italian skillet and a really quick jambalaya, which I made ahead, but you can make this in under 30 minutes. It's one of the fastest, easiest meals that I've seen that is absolutely delicious and amazing. So here they are.
Now, the first meal I'm going to make is this cheesy Italian rice skillet. And as you can see, the first thing that I did here was print out my recipe. I want to make sure that I knew everything that I needed right in front of me, exactly how much I needed. I'm going to be prepping everything kind of all at once to make all 3 casseroles in one day, leave them in my fridge, and that way we can have whatever we want to eat each night, and I don't have to worry about making anything during the week. Like I said, these also freeze really well, so if you're worried about timing, you can actually pop one of them in the freezer, or 2 or 3, however you want to do it, and then just take them out to defrost and reheat them in the oven. Just starting off by chopping up 1 medium bell pepper. You're also going to want 1 medium yellow onion chopped. All these recipes pretty much call for onion, so there's a lot of onion chopping in this prep. I could have potentially just chopped all the onions at once and separated those out. It's kind of how you like to do things. I like to keep things separated, and while I'm thinking about a certain recipe, make everything for that recipe and make sure that I'm prepped to get it started. I'm also going to need 3 to 4 cloves of garlic minced, and I always like to use my microplane. If you're interested in one of those and you've been using a garlic press and kind of squeezing, having issues with that, I'm always put a microplane down below. Now, we're also going to need about a pound of lean ground beef, and I don't even know that mine was really lean. I probably is 73% as I normally use, but you just want to cook that up in a pan. So I did that while I was chopping my vegetables. And once your beef is fully cooked through and browned, you want to add your vegetables, your onions, green peppers, and garlic to the pan and cook until everything is softened. Now, the recipe also calls for 2 fresh zucchinis, which my Walmart did not have at the time of filming this video. So I ended up grabbing a bag of frozen zucchini, and it worked out just fine. So once my peppers and onions were softened, I added the frozen zucchini blend into the meal, and you just want to cook that down for a few minutes as well until slightly soft. Then we're adding in 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. You want to make sure that your beef and food is nice and seasoned. Do a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. To that, you want to add 1 cup of long grain rice. Make sure you're not using instant here because that will not work. Add 2 cups of beef bouillon or beef broth. I like to use the bouillon because I get that at the Dollar Tree and it's super cheap. So you just want to add that in, as well as 2 cups of your favorite marinara sauce. You'll notice I got a lot going on my cooktop right now. I'm cooking some rice in the background. The jambalaya recipe that I have, it does call for pre-made rice, but I wanted to save money and I knew I had rice on hand and I could make that at the same time. So I'm just cooking up the rice for the jambalaya while I'm working on this skillet. Now, I also realized once I was doing this that, wow, I probably should have used a larger skillet. So definitely recommend that if you are making this, use the largest skillet you have, or you could even use a pot to cook this, and I think it would work out just fine. You also want to add 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce to your skillet, and then cover tightly with a lid. You want to cook it with the lid on once it's boiling for about 16 to 18 minutes until your rice is cooked. So you can just check on this. I think mine took closer to the 18-minute mark until the rice was finished cooking all the way through. So while this was cooking, I got started on my shortcut sausage jambalaya. Now, this is a super easy 20-minute meal that I figured I could make this as a casserole and it would be very easy to add into my meal prep. So the ingredients call for 1 small onion chopped, 1 celery rib chopped, and 1 small green pepper chopped. So very similar to our previous recipe, how to have that pepper and onion, and it's so good. So I'm really not mad about that. Once your vegetables are chopped, take 1 tablespoon of butter and add that to a medium-high heat skillet. And then we're going to add the onion, celery, and green pepper in there and cook that for 4 to 6 minutes until tender. To this mixture, you want to add 1 package of turkey kielbasa sliced. It's 14 ounces. And I think I didn't even have turkey kielbasa. I think I just used regular kielbasa and it was delicious. So whatever you have on hand, go ahead and use. Now, the recipe next calls for a can of diced tomatoes, but unfortunately I was out of diced tomatoes, and I don't know how that possibly happened because I always have them. But I used about a half a cup of some leftover sauce and added a half a teaspoon of garlic powder as well as 1 cup of salsa. So the recipe does call for the salsa and the garlic powder, and I just substituted our diced tomatoes with tomato sauce, and it turned out fantastic. So whatever I did there and how that worked out, it was great. So apparently you can substitute tomato sauce for diced tomatoes in this case, and it will turn out just fine. Now, once everything is cooked well together and mixed up, you can add your rice. I mentioned earlier that I cooked rice on the side, but the recipe does call for a pre-cooked package that is 8.8 ounces of long grain rice. And my rice, my white rice, just adding that to that turned out just fine. You can see I'm just adding like the last bits of my sauces here. And just go ahead and add your rice in, and then you can do what you want with it. You can eat it that day. You can put it into a rubber Tupperware container like I did and eat it another day. And I honestly just microwaved it and it tasted so good. So it will work no matter what you want to do. And if you want to freeze this, you can just put the meat with the sauce in the freezer and then add the rice to it when you reheat it. Now for my final recipe, I'm making $1 million spaghetti casserole, and this is really seriously something that will impress your family and friends. Now, again, we have to cut up an onion because this is an onion heavy, what's a casserole without an onion, I guess. So we have a large chopped onion, and then 4 to 6 cloves of minced garlic, 3 teaspoons of dried Italian seasoning, and then you want to cook that down until everything softens, about 5 minutes. And a pound of sweet Italian sausage. You want to make sure the casings are removed. This is more like a ground sausage, so you could buy the sausage in the casings and remove them, or you can buy the package without it. So I was able to grab the package without it. Then I'm just going to use my handy dandy little meat masher here. Always link below if you want to grab yourself one, and cook the sausage until there's no pink. Now, while that sausage mixture is cooking, I'm going to get my cheese mixture going. So I'm going to take 8 ounces of cottage cheese and 8 ounces of cream cheese, as well as a 1/4 cup of sour cream and 1 cup of mozzarella and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And mix that together in a bowl. So that is going to make my entire cheese mixture that is going to go inside this casserole. And don't all those things sound delicious? It doesn't get any better than that. So this is the perfect time to be mixing up your cheese mixture while your sausage cooks. And that way you'll have that ready when everything is ready to assemble the casserole. Once your sausage is cooked, you want to drain out the oil. And I think I've shown this method before. I just wrap some tongs in paper towels, and it really sops up all the grease. And this way I'm not kind of pouring grease somewhere. It makes it a lot easier to get rid of. Instead of having like a cup of grease on the side, I have that all set that can just be thrown right in the trash can. So to your mixture, you want to add 1 jar of tomato sauce, and that's going to make your meat filling. Now on the side here, in the meantime, I've cooked up 16 ounces of pasta, and I'm adding 1 more jar of spaghetti sauce to that pasta. Now the recipe calls for spaghetti, and I'll tell you that I think spaghetti is superior in this, but I chose shells because we'd had a lot of spaghetti lately, and I just thought the family seemed a little sick of that kind of noodle, so I decided to try it with shells this time. Now another thing that makes this recipe so special is it's the butter. You need a half a cup of butter divided and cut up into small squares. And then you want to take half of that and put it at the bottom of your casserole. So I have a 9x13 here. I put my butter down, and then you want to put a layer with about half of the pasta right over that butter. Next, you want to take your cheese mixture and add that on top of your first layer of pasta. Try to spread it as evenly as possible to make sure that your bites are even. I found that it was a little bit tougher using the shells, but I think with the spaghetti it's a little bit easier to kind of spread it out evenly. And then you want to add the other half of the pasta over the top of the cheese mixture, and then finally add your meat mixture on top of the final layer of pasta. And since I was doing everything at the same time here, I did want to kind of show you, like, here is my jambalaya. That is now finished, and I'm putting it into a Tupperware container, and that's what we'll eat this out of for the week. And then also my cheesy rice skillet, I'm just going to put that into a casserole dish, and it does call for mozzarella cheese over top. So I decided that I did not want to put the cheese on until it was time to cook it. So just put everything into your casserole and bake when the time is right, and make sure to add the cheese then. I ended up baking this at 350 degrees for 30 minutes, and it was the perfect amount of time to heat it through right out of the fridge. Just don't forget to add your cheese. These are all the casseroles once I was finished, and same thing applies to the $1 million spaghetti casserole. I wanted to wait on adding the cheese until I was putting it into the oven. You want to add 2 cups of cheese to the $1 million spaghetti casserole, and you want to bake that at 350 degrees for 35 to 45 minutes. And like I said with the jambalaya, I just ended up microwaving that, and that was perfect. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video today. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe so you don't miss any more awesome videos like this. I also do extreme grocery budget challenges as well as grocery hauls. So lots of cooking fun over here. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And I will see you guys all very soon. Someone like you.